Hey guys, Grogger here. So I'm just going to run through Temple of the Jade Serpent again and basically talk about Protection Warriors again in this video, obviously. So kind of my new kind of love for them. The new beta, I mean, they've not really changed since I last played them and I didn't like them. I've just kind of got used to them and started to love them. So basically, now you're basically choosing in every single fight whether to heroic strike or whether to shield block or spell block. So you're either choosing more damage mitigation if it's needed or more damage if it's needed, which is quite nice because, I mean, usually in progression you will probably go for the mitigation, the shield block, spell block, just because, I mean, your damage won't probably be the issue. It'll probably be surviving, especially in the first tier when you're still running in with blues and maybe some greens. Maybe a few epics for the raiding tier. But I quite like it because basically it's all about what you're dumping rage with. So you're generating rage with melee attacks and Shield Slam. Shield Slam now generates 10 range. You're using that quite a bit. You're generating quite a bit of rage. You either need to be, spamming heroic strike or spamming, shield block, spell block, because you might as well use that rage for something. So it's your choice between is the damage needed, is the mitigation needed, which I quite like because at the moment it's not really that case. You can do both. Obviously, the only kind of case in which that it's a similar thing in live is how you choose to reforge gem, etc. I mean, some tanks go for expertise because, I mean, I go for expertise for some of our kills in our weekly 8 out of 8 heroic clear because the damage mitigation just isn't needed, and I would rather have bigger DPS clear things quicker, and have some more fun with it because doing bigger numbers is more fun. So I quite like that that's an actual thing now rather than just how you choose to gear your character. It's an actual kind of mechanic that you choose which way to play the Prot Warrior. I don't really like the fact that Ren's gone. I'm going to miss Rend. I mean, it's basically been replaced by Deep Wounds, and it's basically the same thing. You just don't have to apply it by yourself. Basically, Devastating or Thunder Clapping applies Deep Wounds if you have Blood and Thunder, which you will because you're Prot Warrior. So it's AoE still the same. So your Thunderclap will apply Thunderclap, will do damage with Thunderclap, and then spread Deep Wounds. So it's basically the same as Rend. I just miss Rend because I've had Rend for so long, and you're just used to Rending, then Thunderclapping, and it's just going to get some getting used to. It's a much better way to do it. Just have it automatically on, better kind of lifestyle change because we just don't have to bother with it, and it's nicer, and we've got more chance to focus on other things rather than just getting a silly dot up. But I'm going to miss it. So now, that boss was exactly the same. The next boss, I've never done this mode before. This boss has 2 different modes. So you saw the Battle of the Suns, or whatever, the 5 Suns in the last video, whatever it's called. This one is called Strife and Anger, I believe. It's basically these 2 flower zombie thingies. And basically, you start on Strife. You'll just DPS it down, everyone will DPS it down until it shields itself as he just did. Then you will swap onto Anger, obviously, because Strife is immune to all damage. Then you will just DPS Anger down until until Anger shields, and then Strife is unshielded, and then you go back. DPS are basically just swapping depending on who's got the shield. Pretty dull fight for your DPS. From what I can see, the healing is pretty intense. I'm taking a lot of damage. So healing is, might be quite fun, might be quite demanding, this fight. And I also was trying to, manage my my cooldowns well so that the healer really didn't have much problem. So, impending victory, shield, block. Another thing to mention, Rallying Cry and Last Stand now don't share a cooldown. Hell yes. So that basically means Prot Warriors aren't, losing anything when using Rallying Cry, because previously, if you needed Rallying Cry for a certain moment and you had a Fury Warrior and a Prot Warrior, the Fury Warrior would use it every time because then the Prot Warrior can use Last Stand if things get ugly. Now, you can use Rallying Cry as, you know, it's a personal buff because it does increase your health, or you can use it as a raid buff. I mean, it's just an extra thing we've got to use, and it's not fucking us over by sharing a cooldown. So this fight is very dull, as I've mentioned, just swap, swap, shield, shield, swap, etc. And the healer just keeps you up. The healer, I don't know how the healing is. I might try and heal it one time on a shaman or something. But I'm a shit healer. Third boss exactly the same, so I won't really go through this. But on a fight like this, I was choosing to spell block as much as I could because of the magic damage from, like you see there, that fire spinny thing. That's magic damage. So what you want is kind of to have spell block up for every one of them. And maybe, what I think this fight might be is basically you want spell block up for every time the boss casts the spinny fire thingy or the spinny green thingy. Some, you know, scientific names for these here. And you want shield block up for in between, because in between she's meleeing you and then she's doing big spell damage to you, which is quite fun. I mean, I can imagine that kind of swapping kind of thing will be quite enjoyable in MoP, and it is quite nice. Now, the main DPS proc kind of warrior changes is basically that you've got to basically choose between heroic strike, as I've explained, but you can use anything basically in defensive stance. So you can use execute, hamstring, shattering, throw, blade storm. They're all now usable in defensive stance. So there's no need to go into a battle or berserker to say get off a colossal smash like you might be doing now, or get off a shattering throw for an increase in DPS. You basically just stay in defensive stance all the time. I mean, obviously if you're not taking any damage, berserker stance is preferable because there's 10% increased damage on it. But I mean, there's no, when you're tanking, which is most of the time I imagine in raids, it is basically going to be defensive stance all the time. So stance dancing is basically dead as a Prot warrior, which is quite nice, because I never really enjoyed stance dancing, even though it was kind of a thing that kind of separated the shit Prot warriors from the other people who know how to play them. I didn't really enjoy, swapping in case, you got critted. That happened a few times. My raid team could tell you all about that. But it's quite nice. Now, as you can see, Heroic Strike just glow. Heroic Strike and Cleave are glowing quite a lot. That's a proc. I'm not sure what it's a proc of. It's a proc of something in your Prot spec. Basically just makes it free, which is really nice. Because, even if you are denoting all your rage to mitigation and to keeping up one of the blocks, you still have that option to Heroic Strike, and, it'll mix up the rotation a bit, make it a little bit proc based. Actually, it is quite proc based, isn't it? But, so, yeah, that's basically it. I'll definitely be making more videos in the future when more content comes onto the beta. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.